Oh my god.
I'm loving it. I'm good.
Welcome. All right. Hello and welcome to Smiling Souls. This is Stephanie Keenan Ray and Wendy Tadiucci. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well. Can I tell you something?
Yes.
I visited our friends at the lavender farm Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I got a jar. I didn't know this stuff existed. I got a jar of lavender sugar. Lavender sugar.
To put
It's
in
the
lavender
best thing ever.
and put in your tea with a little lemon.
Not lemon, but I'll take like the Starbucks lavender lavender vanilla
Yep.
stuff they have, right? Brew it, and then I'll put a teaspoon of that lavender sugar in it. I thought the coffee on its own was good, but with the lavender sugar,
Yeah, kicks it up a notch.
that's what I'm jamming on today. How about you?
Nice. Very good. I am on coffee, yes. Just regular. Well, no, it's not regular because my husband's still away, so I could brew just regular, fresh flavored. It's from a local coffee shop and it's what is it? It's like coconut and chocolate, and I was kind of like, I don't know about that. It's
Right.
it's not
Right?
too chocolatey. It's just like that. It's just got that little like hints of a different flavor, and then the coconut comes through quite nice, which is one of my favorite flavors. And yeah, that's lovely. And it's been a lovely chaotic Friday. You know, Gabriel had his mouth surgery a couple days ago.
That?
Huh?
I didn't know he had surgery.
Yeah. I thought I told you, and then I was surprised
No,
when you didn't ask, but that's okay. Apparently I didn't tell you.
you didn't tell me.
So he had an extra tooth in the roof of his mouth behind his front teeth.
Oh, like Freddie Mercury,
Oh, there we go. Even better. Yes.
right? Because
Yeah.
he had like a couple, and that's why how he could sing. So anyway, no.
So yeah, he had an extra tooth that needed to come out because eventually it wasn't ever going to like become a proper tooth, but it was going to mess up the roots.
Yeah.
And then they decided while they were in there, they might as well take out all of his canines and one of his molars because of the way the others are growing in. They're hoping it'll cause less chaos.
Okay.
And we've known about this needing to do this since about December. We went to see the surgeon and get a referral of what's going on and all of that.
Right.
And then the hospital doesn't give her much priority for getting a room to do surgery anymore. So like she called us in January and said, "Can you come on this day?" And I was like, "No, I haven't even been told by insurance what's happening, like."
Right. How much you paying first?
Yeah. And so then they gave us a May date and I said, "Okay, fine, we'll do this." And I've been dreading like the aftermath more so. Like I'm one of those people that I'm like, I know she's a killer surgeon. Like she's going to do her job. She knows her job.
Right.
She can do it with her eyes closed. She could do it so well. Like that's the kind of person she is.
But you hope she will.
And I don't worry about the anesthesiologists. Like again, 9 times out of 10, they're highly educated, wonderful, excellent
100%.
at what they do.
Yep.
They were my favorite people when I had my surgery, when I had my child.
Yeah, they're great.
And so I wasn't worried about the day of. I was more worried about recovery because he can be very what's the word? He's very sensitive and very, like but he has been a total trooper.
Really?
Now, granted, he does not normally get Tylenol or anything like that. So he's getting pain medicine to keep him chill. But even at that, it's like this morning, he came into my room at like 6:30 and just went, "Hey, mommy, is it possible I could get some medicine?"
Your son is the most polite, I'm going to say human, ever. He's so polite.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah." Because at first I was like sound asleep and I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to get up." And then I realized what he was asking for. I was like, "Oh, yes, you can have that." Yeah. And
Was he,
and I said, "Are
swollen up?
you in pain?" And he was like, "A little bit." And I was like, "Considering it's been since 8:30 at night since you had medicine, yeah, you're in pain. I know you are."
He's a trooper.
He is a trooper. He's loving the fact that he's getting popsicles and pudding and jello and all the things. So he's like, "This is great. I don't have to go to school and I get treats." Like, so he's been really good. He's just been recovery's been good. His mouth is not too swollen. He haven't had to do too
Good.
much of the ice, but he's been enjoying his popsicles and he's been in you know, just chilling, hanging out. So yeah, so he's
Glad.
today, but yeah, so there was get up, give him medicine, and then I started doing things around the house, and then I realized I had my networking coffee connect that of the group that I lead
Yeah.
is today, and I had double booked myself with another coffee connect with another person.
Oh
So
no.
I had to scramble to be like, "Hey, Jessica, can you run this? And what Zoom link should I send out?" So it was one of those like, "Ooh."
Girl.
Yeah, but life is good. Everybody's happy. Everybody's healthy. Life is good, and I'm here now, so I'm super happy.
We're happy you're here too.
Yeah, but yeah, just getting sips of my coffee because that's how the morning has gone.
Enjoy that coffee. Enjoy the sitting.
Exactly. Having a conversation and just relaxing because that's what we do here.
That is what we do. That's how we roll.
Yeah. How was your day? How was the Peony Festival?
Oh, it was fantastic. A lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people. They could totally expand this to 2 days instead of one.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful arrangements of peonies everywhere. Vendors galore. Everything from one vendor took pressed petals
Mm-hmm.
and somehow put them between plastic and made like wind catchers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that's interesting. You could buy a bouquet of peonies, which I didn't do because I'm like, that we're 2.5 hours away. I don't think that's gonna
Yeah,
make
they're
it.
not going to be happy.
But the park they had it in was it's called Seminary Park. They built it 18 something. So they
Yep.
got this beautiful like black wrought iron gate, Seminary Park, and it's all strewn with peonies, and peonies are like my favorite. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was all about that.
Yeah. Right now, my irises are starting to come up and do
Oh.
their thing, and irises are my favorite. And then the peonies will be here very soon.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah, that was so much fun. We should probably go to that. Oh, and by the way, our friends are having a lavender festival
Mm-hmm.
28th and 29th of June.
And
So, if you find yourself over here,
give
we
them
should go to
more
that.
information. Over where, Wendy?
Oh, LaPorte.
LaPorte.
Yeah.
Yes. And what's the lavender farm called? I forgot.
Lakeside Lavender.
I knew it was something about a lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Super wonderful people, and their lavender farm is beautiful.
Yeah, we got to get them as sponsors because we're already like promoting them. We're not even sponsors. I have a conversation with Doreen. I think her name is. Hi, Doreen, if you're watching.
All right, now let's do some oracle cards. So I am going to do our guest Shilpi's first.
Awesome.
So I pulled for you from the angels, the archangels, spiritual understanding. And it is Archangel Raziel. And it says, I am bringing you stoic information and symbols and helping you understand spiritual truths. Your spiritual understanding is rising to another level as you open up to new ways of looking at life. Keep an open mind and let go of limited thinking and illusions. Pay attention to signs, information that comes to you 3 times or more. Notice geometric shapes and symbols in your physical and psychic vision. Know that your increased awareness may shift your relationship and career goals. I'll guide you through these changes sorry, my mouth is not working. I'll guide you through these changes so your life mirrors your inner experiences. Working with Archangel Raziel. As the wizard and alchemist of the Archangel realm, Raziel helps us understand ideas that defy normal logic. He expands and challenges everyday thinking in ways that ultimately have healing effects. If you're hungry for deep spiritual understanding, ask Raziel to enter your dreams and you'll soul travel with him to classrooms where he'll help you uncover truths and secrets. Upon awakening, you'll not fully remember or understand Raziel's teachings, yet this knowledge is permanently embedded in your subconscious where it guides you throughout each day. Well,
Yay.
geez, I think
That's amazing. Are we surprised?
no. As
Yeah,
you
as
get
you were
to meet Shillpi, you'll understand why we're having a giggle over this for sure.
absolutely 100%.
Too many signs. Yes, three times. Oh, the word alchemy. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
whoa. All right. Thank you for that.
You are so welcome.
We always
Wendy,
need validation.
you want to do yours?
Oh, yes, I'll do mine. So this morning I pulled Archangel Metatron, Heaven to Earth. I get him a lot.
You do get
Your current situation is in alignment with your mission on Earth. So Archangel Metatron says, Metatron, the throne next to God, is said to be one of the youngest of the archangels alongside his twin brother, Sandalphon. Kabbalistic texts support the idea that he once lived upon the earth as Enoch, who was a prophet and the great-grandfather of Noah. As an angel, Metatron is guiding this age. This powerful archangel governs the sacred sciences, helps us understand the interconnectedness of all things, and is supporting us as we enter an age of awareness and growth. This was a powerful card for me because the next part of this message really hit. It says, when Metatron comes to you, it's because you are part of a powerful shift that is unfolding on the earth during your lifetime. So proceed, keep going, and don't give up. There's a sacred bridge of light between heaven and earth, and that bridge is you. Your life hasn't happened by chance or accident. You have been chosen. The divine has recruited you to fulfill a great mission that will bring healing and change to planet Earth. You might feel you're on a roller coaster and be unsure if you should continue or not, but there's a karmic alignment occurring, and therefore what you are facing and pushing through is absolutely in alignment with your mission. Energetically, there is a cleanup process unfolding. This is what I've been feeling. So it might feel a bit messy or overwhelming, but trust that you are on the right path and your angel team is supporting you and your mission. That hit.
Love it.
Hey, what about you, Steph? What did you pull?
So I decided to go with the druid plants because they called my name while we were sitting here talking. So I had already pulled something, but we'll see. Let's hope that there's reading in this is sometimes hard. But this is the primrose.
That's beautiful.
It is.
Ooh.
It says it's for love, creativity, and rebirth. That seems appropriate. The primrose is a low-growing perennial herb which is native to Western and Southern Europe and Britain. Flowering in April is one of the earliest spring flowers. It enjoys damp conditions and grows in the woodlands, hedgerows, and pastures. Individual plants can live up to 25 years, and in Britain it is now illegal to pick the flowers in the wild. The card shows primroses in full bloom in Snowdonia at the time of Beltane. Beside Lake Bala stands a cauldron in which Cudwin has strewn the herbs that will produce 3 drops of awaken when boiled for a year and a day. Behind the primroses, we see their relative, the cowslip, which has a number of medicinal uses. Because they are small and beautiful and are among the first flowers to appear after winter, primroses have always been associated with romantic love and new beginnings. Drawing this card may indicate that a new love is entering your life, or that a fresh wave of tenderness will appear in an existing relationship. Our relationships, like our dreams, have seasons, and however long you've been together, it's still possible for a new cycle to begin. Alternatively, this card may be indicating not the dawn of romantic love, but a rising of creativity within you. The primrose is the flower of the bard, and each of us has a bard within us who longs to sing the song of their soul and tell their story of their heart. Out of the cauldron of Shirduin, come 3 drops, and the changes wrought in Gawain Bash were profound and many. A third possibility is that rather than love or creativity, this card is pointing to a birthing of wisdom. And then there's a whole little thing that's extra that I can't read because there's way too many weird words in it that I will stumble over. But I mean, I kind of feel like it could be all of the 3 things: the creativity, the reconnection with Mr. Ray. Who knows? Because he's been away and he's coming back soon, so that's exciting.
All right.
And, so
Well, I heard creativity in that. And that is
creativity
so
and then
you.
wisdom. I mean, it's always throwing itself at us.
You. Oh my gosh. How fun. Like all of our cards hit us.
Mm-hmm.
Like they make sense. So the universe is always conspiring on our behalf.
Yes. And I always love the factor that it's kind of like when you're in a mastermind, like no matter what, even if it's not your question or your card, they relate. The listeners can still relate to them and find some value from them too. So I love that as well.
Ooh, should we ask a question of our listeners and viewers?
Sure. What's your
Like,
question?
what card did you relate to most? Let us know in the comments.
Mm-hmm. Good question, Wendy.
Thank you.
All right. You want to introduce our wonderful, beautiful guest?
Yes, I can't wait. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce to the Smiling Souls podcast, Shillpi Joshi. Yes? Okay, good. Shillpi is a modern day spiritual alchemist on a quest to transmute life's experiences into profound wisdom and enlightenment. Did everybody just go home, right? Shillpi has 22 years of experience as a psychic and clairvoyant guide, and she leads seekers on a transformative journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, exploring the alchemy of the soul, unlocking the secrets of inner transformation and empowerment. Shillpi inspires others to awaken their true potential and embrace the magic of spiritual alchemy in their lives. She says she holds the space for you while leading you to discover your light within. So welcome to Smiling Souls, Shillpi.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for that. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
So happy to have you. So yeah, we are gonna dive into learning more about your spirituality and your skills that you have. So, I mean, I think just to start us off, if you can just kind of give us a little background of your spiritual base and where you come from and what kind of raised you and where you've developed from.
I was born in India and I've been raised in India as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I come from a very, very Indian, Hindu family.
Yep.
So that's the religion. Of course, don't follow any religions anymore, more spiritual.
Yep.
So that's the path. And it's always been a gift. I think I was gifted right from the beginning. In fact, not in this lifetime. From what I see, it's definitely passed on from various lifetimes, because this wisdom that flows through when I'm channeling is not something you could just develop. I mean, in all the chaos of being a daughter, a sister, trying to figure your, footing in in the world, and then being married, a wife, a daughter-in-law, then a mom. Oh my God! And then all these gifts just kind of deciding to show up and channel more. Of course, it was all about using guidance. I reached a point where I felt that I'd reached a roadblock and I did not know what to do. But I'd always had these conversations with God. Never had any picture in my mind, but I remember even as a 7-year-old, if things didn't make sense to me, I would run to the washroom and just stand there and we have these conversations. Oh, you're helping me, right? I mean, you'll get me out, right? I don't know how to do this. People don't get me, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, I had to find a place out of the washroom. So I started going to a temple nearby. And then one day I remember I was really, really upset. And the temple is full of people, right? They know you. You're the only young kid walking barefoot, walking all the way and coming every single day with the dedication. So, like, okay, can't go there, want to let it all out. And then I went to there's a place called Gurudwara, which means the Guru's feet, right? I mean, Guru's door, which is for the Sikh people, right? And that was the most peaceful place I could find. And I just went there, sat down, and let it all out.
Mm-hmm.
Could ask for prayers. And so it's always been like that, but they were all one-way conversations
Mm-hmm.
until I went to that place that day and I asked for being uh, my prayer that day was, it's all a mess. I need to get out from where I am because it seems like I'm just getting dragged down. Can you get me out? That's it. And I do remember now that there were two dicky birds that I saw out of nowhere. And when you look back, you say, oh, that's where the shift had happened, but you don't know it then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was into my literature course 2 years down, and then fast forward next 2 months, I find myself doing medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Things transpired in the most magical way, and it landed up that I found myself in a room praying in the medical college, 6 hours drive away from where I was with my parents, and I realized that the college was owned by a Sikh gentleman. So that room had the same holy book that I had prayed to. And that's when I sat down and as I was praying, I heard, you'd asked for it, it's been granted. And that's the moment when the one-way conversation became two-way.
Mm.
And I
Interesting.
remember I didn't get scared, but it was a small room, so I just kind of ran out, kneeled down in a huge open ground, looked up and said, now what?
Mm.
And but then
Right.
that's how the guidance began. I would say the training began because I had a lot of experiences there, which really didn't feel like, I mean, one, I didn't know that it's only me who's experiencing it because you don't know that you're the gifted one. I thought it's happening with everybody until I landed up with a book by Dr. Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters, which was 2 years later. But now when I look back, those 5 years in the medical college were my training. I mean, these are not things that are given in any course. You can't. People tell me, where did you learn it? Can you teach me? I just cannot teach you those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It is like when you connect to a higher vibration, your guides, it's like you are at 220 volts. You're raising your vibration to be able to receive something which is at 440 volts. How do I teach you how that feels unless you've experienced it? Or how does a lower vibration feel at 110 volts, for example? So
Mm-hmm.
it can't be taught, it has to be experienced. Because when you're connecting, you're not seeing, you're just feeling,
Mhm.
and you need to do it right. So it's taken me, of course, all these years. I started when life was a mess, I was stuck. I remember going back to that conversation with the Almighty, sitting down and saying, there has to be a reason I'm here. I ain't giving up. Can you please guide me out? And I would just lie down there crying. I remember 2, 3 days every time I would send kids to school. And then something in me started shifting. I started getting visions again. I had to get a surgery for my throat. I had a miscarriage in between, but the messages were coming. Initially, I didn't want to pass on. My major concern was I didn't want to pass on any transgenerational trauma or patterns to my children. Because my thing was, forget everything else. This is my responsibility. I got only one take at it. And I ain't doing this wrong. So it just kind of, and then when you need to not pass it on, it's like opening up that box, Pandora's box of grievances, grudges, the forgiveness that was pending, the guilt, the trauma, and all of that, And so, yeah, and eventually, I remember after a few years, it so happened that I started attracting people who were going through similar issues, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! You know what? I have enough on my plate, and this is going to be collateral damage. I don't want to." And am I how am I trained to help anybody else? But it just was meant to happen. It just kept flowing, and the joy it brought to people, and I think it just happened. Of course, I joke around with my guides now and say it's collateral damage, but I'm so grateful for it, because if all those experiences, trauma, pain has brought me to a point, everybody does the best for them and their family. But if it extends out, the bucket overflows and it brings joy or, comfort to others, it's a life well lived, I guess. In short, that's what I can say.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, and kind of interesting too that you had the peace of mind to create those boundaries of whether it's like no, I am not taking any more people that are going through the same thing as me, because some people will just be like, oh, you're going through the same thing as me, let's bond, right? But then sometimes that can hold you down or put you back in it instead of moving forward, moving to where you should be.
That's been another journey altogether.
Yeah. But even like the boundaries of making sure and being determined to not pass on that the generational trauma, like that's amazing, like to have that forethought to ensure that, because I think some people, it's like you become a mom and then you're like, oh, how do I not break this child? And not physically, but mentally.
I think, Stephanie, again, like I said, it was all a part of the plan. I am just grateful that the plan kind of, the light, I could see it at the right time.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure this is not from this lifetime. I was always different as a child when I was brought up. I was a rebel. You couldn't tell me, just do it. You had to explain it to me. And out of all things, to be in medicine, doing my bachelor's in physical therapy, then landing up in an ICU with an internship, to completely switching my field. But again, for me, this was no mumbo jumbo. It was very, very scientifically explainable. It's all about energy. It's all about connecting to you, reading your energy, raising my energy vibration to a level where I can connect to your higher consciousness, your guides, as and whatever you can call. And then and I've been down there as well. I mean, with the emotions down, the moment you go down into grief and you are holding that baggage with all the dirty laundry, you're definitely not going higher and connecting to higher beings. You see the ones that are down below as well. So it's been a journey. I have to say, boundaries, in terms of first personal boundaries, then of course professional boundaries.
Right.
And I think as human beings, we are, it's only natural to kind of just keep taking when you're hurting. Then to be in a space where people are receiving from you how much to give, how much not to give, and then to realizing that who am I to decide how much to give or not? I will not give from my bucket, which is empty,
That's
and then
it.
which tells me, and I'm just going to overflow it. And it's up to you or the universe to decide where it flows. So
Mhm.
it's been a learning of surrendering, faith, self doubt, and
Mm,
of course, personal challenges. Because if
right.
I was if I didn't have a soul plan and lessons to learn, I wouldn't be here. So it's like it's like a bullet train. You
So as
I
you, yeah. So, um, you do you think like were you tapped in like is it more that you've consciously in more recent years realized that it is this knowledge that you've had has always been there?
Mm,
Did it just like or did you just kind of innately have certain things would just kind of flow out of you and as a child you just didn't have explanation for it, you just knew these things or you did these things. Uh I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. But if I look back to my childhood, I everybody thought I was really scared, But
mhm.
I now see it. I was sensitive to energies. I would just sense it.
Right.
I wouldn't want to go to a room, and people, my cousins would make fun of me, and they'll be like, "You're so scared. You're so scared." And at night, I wouldn't be able to sleep in certain. I remember certain a few of our houses my father would move as he got posted. I couldn't just sleep. I could hear things. It was always a, oh my God. But just grateful that I also believe that the reason I believe it's not from this lifetime and it's all a part of a plan is because I did have that, protection all the time. Because
Mhm.
as a child, you have the, kind of, you want to mess up, you want to test limits. Even as a teenager, I remember we moved to an apartment, and I randomly decided to put wind chimes on a window, and there was a very open area, like acres over acres of land, which was just forest. And I put it there, and I kept hearing, "Take it off, take it off." And the voice got louder, "Take it
Mhm.
off." And I was like, I got up and I'm like, "I'm not taking it off." And within a second, it just kind of flew off. And I was like, whoa.
Mhm.
And that's when I said, there is something not okay. Now you look back and you see all those things, right? That time you were like, oh, it's okay. I always had that.
Spirit was like, "You're gonna listen to me."
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
I mean,
Oh,
definitely. I mean, I later on I got to know the history of the apartments. There was one, we downstairs was a library. Nobody lived in there. I think that a mishappening had happened there, and it's always been vacant, and they converted into a library. And the
Mm,
neighbors would keep barking. So you get. But this is when you're going through it. You're a teenager. You're like, don't worry.
right.
I
yeah.
was always protected because I would feel scared, but nothing happened. It was almost like
Yeah.
somebody was always there. So it's a combination of both, I would say.
Yes, I totally understand that. I definitely feel energy and have always felt the energy. And I the being protected, like you know you're just protected. Like,
Okay.
not that you can't make dumb mistakes, but you surround yourself with that positive light and the positive energies that are going to protect you so that you don't have to really worry. But yeah, I've also walked into places where like there's this shop. It used to be an energy shop in Rockport, Massachusetts, and it's closed now. But it's in an old house that at one point you can tell like the main section is very small and tight and everything, and then you step down to two or three steps to what probably used to be a garden, like with a fire pit. And every time I would step into that section, I just got like a horrible sensation, and like I would be out of that shop in 2 seconds. Like, and anyone who came to visit would be like, "Oh, we gotta go to that shop," and I'd just be like, "Yep, okay," and I would
Oh.
try it every single time, and every single time I'd be like, "I'm out of here. I'll be outside. I'll just watch tourists walk around."
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. And Shilpi, the wind chime thing
Mm.
and the Who do you think that spirit was?
I don't think I
Friendly?
really made an
Not
effort.
friendly?
Yeah, definitely not friendly.
Definitely
So
not friendly.
basically, yeah, now because it was an order. It was an order.
Yeah.
Remove it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's higher vibration wouldn't want to mess with it because the wind chimes are higher vibration.
Uh-huh.
They make very soothing sounds. And I do know it wasn't higher vibration because later on my sister did say when I sit down and study there, it's almost like somebody's pulling me. And I have to recite my chants to be able to, they kind of pull you into a trance. It's almost like they're trying to pull you into their own thing. I was in an open area. Eventually, I did, I remember people talk about Reiki now. I chanced upon a Reiki teacher. That was 1999. And so, when I went to learn from him, he was like, I'm not giving you masters because you are telling me exactly what energy I'm sending you, what color and what form. And you just all of 18. I do not want you to misuse it. And I was like, but kid, could you please come to my house? Because there's something that's not fitting in right. When he
Yeah.
came in, he told my mom, please check. And that's when we came to know that somebody had, committed suicide in the house below, 2 houses below. And that's where every time I would go down the stairs at night, I would feel very uncomfortable.
Right.
Yes.
So all of that. So definitely not very friendly energies. Eventually, we did move out, but a lot happened in this house. So I also feel that those were training years for me because now when I look back, unless you walk through the dark, how do you know how it feels?
Right.
And then you find your way to light. I've uplifted myself. The Pandora's box has been sorted. There's no dirty linen there. You filled it up with beautiful energy. You do not carry forth and create any more karma. You just all right. Anybody hurts you, bless you. But let's be fair. You're working on your ancestral lineage and the patterns at the same time. If you are wanting to attract light, you need to have what is light and what is darkness. It's almost like the room is dark.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, the room is dark. Switch on the light. Just put a switch on. So you need to be able to see both sides to know what it is. There's nobody who can teach you this,
No.
right?
Yeah. Except yourself.
So it's been for me. Yeah, absolutely. For me, I am self-taught. I would say very blessed. I would say my guides literally held my hand. Of course, very grateful to have found the right people in my life who could guide me when I needed, especially a lot of wisdom because India is a very patriarchal society. And that was something I always the conversations, the first thing always is, are you I am 100% sure you made a mistake while I was being born. I wasn't meant to be in India because being a woman, born a girl who wouldn't want to really, want to be treated any less. I mean, let's be fair. So that's another battle altogether. But it is what it is. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a beautiful journey, very worth all that I've gone through. Still a lot to do. Do not know whether this lifetime is enough.
Right.
But hopefully I'll build on and the next lifetime we'll be sitting and saying, all right, I've added another lifetime of learning.
Exactly.
Somewhere higher, maybe more. Oh, who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
more lifetimes.
Well, it's interesting too because yeah, I think it is you have to go through these things and learn, but then at some point your wisdom does kick in from that past life. So it's like you start to go, oh yeah, that's why I was doing these things.
Yeah, those deja vus, right? Those deja vus, suddenly those moments. Oh, I've had this before.
Yes.
Right. Like, ooh, what's a little deja vu?
Yeah. For me, I talk about the fact that I have a little druid medicine man who sits on my shoulder and he like whispers in my ear. So it's like when I, especially with the essential oils and, making custom blends for people, it's like I innately will just know. And then sometimes I'll be like, am I doing the right thing? And he'll be like,
I know it.
Yeah. And you explain that to certain people and they're like, okay.
No, total
But
sense.
it's so true. It's so true. And I know that I worked with him in a past life. So that's my personal story. But yeah, it's very interesting. Now, when we talked, you told us a little bit about how um shoot, my brain. You have a major connection to Shiva.
Right. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
It's of course born in India, right? So
Right.
the land of gods and born a Hindu. And I remember when I was 13,
Mm-hmm.
until then, to me, God was just somebody up there. I
Yep.
don't even know who taught me that because I was born in a family who do not believe in idol worship. They only believe in five elements of nature. So there's
Yeah.
nobody in my house who really prays.
Yep.
I've had dreams of goddesses as a child where I'd never seen those pictures before. And
Mm.
when I was 5, 6, and then I remember my mom would pray because my sister was born with a medical disorder, but I was not. Uh, and then I remember I somebody took me to a temple um,
Mm.
for Shiva and explained to me that we fast on Mondays, and I was 12, and
Mm.
that's it. It just came to me, start fasting. So I started fasting on Mondays. And at that time, I was a kid, right? So my prayers were, don't get me into another patriarchal family, because
Mm.
that's all, you go from one house to another. That was
Mm.
all that understanding was. And all the conversations then were directed to Shiva. I would just, so that was the temple I would walk to, built
Mhm.
up that connection.
Mhm.
And so I remember having fasted until my first pregnancy. So I fasted about 16 years every Monday. And even as a child, I remember that strength in me, that willpower. We would go for holidays and kids would be eating and I would be eating, but I would eat once a day, only vegetarian food. So
Mm.
I don't know where I got it. I don't have that willpower anymore.
Yeah.
I envy myself at that time, but always had that connection. And it's almost like back and forth. Sometimes for some years, it's almost like step away and you kind of do your own thing, and then I come back and then I start praying again. A
Mhm.
very, very uncanny. Like 2 years ago, I was dealing with a lot of karmic understanding of things. Um, and I wanted to, I told Baba, I always call him Baba, right? Bholenath Baba. And I said, could you please help me? Because for me, he's the epitome of ultimate divine, feminine and masculine. So
Yeah.
it's the right balance. And I was like, I've done my bit. Could you please take away the rest?
Mm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when I started getting few dreams where I just heard, come to Varanasi. And I was like, what? And I'm not somebody who's religious.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay. So I Googled, I knew Varanasi, but I didn't know what was the significance.
Mhm.
So that's when I came to know, oh, wow, it's the first land of Shiva. Okay, there are 12 centers, but this is the first one out of 12 in India. Okay, and then I said, all right, maybe it's just a vague dream. Maybe, okay.
Yeah.
And then I had these random people. I was in one of the random. I was in Uzbekistan, and this guy comes to me and says, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm like, I'm from India." He's like, "Oh, you guys go to Varanasi, right?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "I saw on YouTube, right? Uh, that's your holy land." And I was like, and I looked back at my husband. I said, "Did you see that man with golden teeth?" He's like, "Who?" I was like, "That man, he was just there, right?" And that time I remember I grabbed
Oh.
myself an ice cream, sat down and said, "Hey, I got to go." And then that was the dream. First dream was October. This was December. I still wouldn't know how to get away from the life. And January, I woke up in the morning, myself hugging a huge shivling, and it's a very auspicious dream.
Mhm.
And just as I'm thinking, is it really real?
Right.
I hear the call to prayer outside the window. So it was about 4:30 in the morning. And I was like, that's it. So I booked my tickets, and I have a client who's really young, and he's like, I'm going to come with you. I was like, why? He's like, how will you go? It's really crowded. I'm like, what? I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to go to the temples. He's like, then what are you going for? I was like, because he's called me. So I'm going to go. So for the first 3 days, oh, strangely enough, people I had karmic birth connections with came. And so I was joined by 4 more people. 3 of them were my clients, 2 of them were my family.
Oh, wow.
And first 3 days were fine. The next 3 days, randomly, I got into an auto in the wrong direction. And that guy said, "Oh, you want to have tea?" I was like, "Yeah, but no, 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 I don't want to go with you. I want to." He's like, let me take you for the best tea. He stopped at a shop, made the best tea. And he's like, "Have you seen these temples?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "What have you seen then?" And I said, "The famous ones." And so he said, "Do you want to go?" One of the cousins backed out, me and my sister, "All right, we're going to go." And I kept asking myself, "But where is the shivling that I saw in my dreams?
Right.
What is happening?"
Right.
And then he takes me to a temple. It was already closing. As I walk in,
There it is.
they were just cleaning up. And I suddenly said something, and the priest called me. And he handed over all the garlands to me. And I started crying. And something in me said, "Move around." I'm like, "But where?" And then there were 108 shivlings there. When I go back, they were frozen ones. And that was the one that had come in my dream. The one I was hugging was white, like ice, right? And oh my God, that moment
Wow.
was. And then the question began,
Wow.
why have you called me here?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I felt crazily sick when I got back. All the medical reports were normal, but I was purging so bad that the doctor had to give me IV drips. And he's like, "But what's wrong with you? Because the stool tests are normal, everything is normal." I was like, "I'm purging. I've asked for a purge." And that happened. And I think it was almost like he lifted a veil that I was refusing to see. It gave me the permission to draw boundaries and not be walked over, because that was the only thing I was not doing justice to myself. I was telling everybody to have strong boundaries, but when it came to the innermost circle and love, I did not have the heart, or I would say I just didn't have the energy to really put a boundary and say, "Please do not be mean to me." And he gave me that permission. So that was beautiful. And then I wanted to explore it further. So I had there was a quantum healing hypnotherapy technique. It's by Dolores Cannon. So I spoke to the lady. I had a session 3 months ago, and I was like, can you please check with my guides when you put me through? And what is my connection with Shiva? So one of the lifetimes I was a priest by a river. It actually gave some year 18 something. It was in India. It gave the name of a river. I was like, I've never heard this river. And not that I know all of India, right? And post the session, when I Googled, there was only one YouTube video by a guy saying there is a tributary of a main river which is called this river. And then when I followed his YouTube, it leads to a cave where Shiva is worshipped. It's an ancient cave. I was like, okay, but it's so much in sync that it's become it doesn't surprise me anymore. It's just a part of me.
Wow.
And I feel all the while when I was growing up, people were like, "Who's your teacher? Who's your guru? Who's teaching you? And I would go out looking for gurus. And my grudge always was, "Who's my guru? Who's teaching me? What is it?" If it's a physical form, you just call and complain, or you crib, or you throw a tantrum. But here, there is nobody I can go to. So it's almost like you have to wait for him to respond to you.
Oh, wow.
And then here he is, obviously really way, way high up. But then thank God he's there. So I think it's just, again, because I'm not very religious, and it makes so much sense to me because he's the ultimate balance of the feminine and the masculine. So, and we do kind of move between both in our lifetimes, ultimately wanting to be
Mm-hmm.
closest to the center of balance.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think it's fascinating because I feel like there are so many people, many different faiths that have a connection to some, like, an unexplained connection to, a God that we know of, right? But it's not because their parents said you have to believe in this person or whatever, it's like they just,
Absolutely.
and so it's very interesting. I've noticed, so like I grew up Catholic, and growing up for me, I always felt very deeply like I would always feel like the connection and the ritual and whatnot of before Easter, and even a little bit Christmas, but and it wasn't about the presents. It was, what the, like, I like Advent leading up to getting ready for Christmas. That was always like a huge one for me. And then Easter, I remember multiple times when I was young, and then even as I was a teenager, just like I kept it totally internalized. I never told anyone, but I remember just like on Good Friday, I would just cry
Yeah.
in my room, like just feeling that connection of like what he went through, how horrible humanity was to him, and the factor that, like, something my mother's always boggled over is, she's like, humans just don't change, do they? Like, they just won't change. And it's so crazy, but like that connection of
Yeah.
to that God, and then, and again, I kind of do the same thing of that in and out. Like, sometimes I pray to him, sometimes I don't, whatever, but it is that thing that, and that you can talk to.
Yeah, I think that sense of belonging, like a child,
Hmm.
the parents are there, the father is there, he's
Yeah.
watching over you, and you kind of loiter around and kind of
Mhm.
explore. And then you get hit, and
Exactly.
then you come back, cry a bit, and then go back again.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
more confidence in learning. I always say this. So yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I
It
get
is
it.
totally beautiful. Got any questions, Wendy? You look like you got something.
So, Steph, what you said about that connection you had. So, I did not grow up Catholic, but
Mm-hmm.
I turned Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I started. So my mom and I, like, we were Methodist,
Mm-hmm.
and we would go every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. And then I went to a mass. I went to a Catholic mass, and I sat down, and it was like, oh,
Yeah.
ah, here, this is where I'm supposed to be. Aha. And it felt natural and comfortable, and it's like, okay. And then with my angels and my guides,
Mm-hmm.
who have been with me my entire life,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like what you said, Shilpi, like, they are always protecting me. I've always been safe my entire life. I
Mm-hmm.
felt that, but I couldn't put a finger on it until probably the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, I have my guides. Oh, it's nice to meet you. Oh, you've always
Right.
been with me. And they're kind of like, yeah, well, here she is.
Yeah.
Finally, here you are. So I just that's what was coming up.
Nice. I love that. Well, this has been a beautiful
Wow.
conversation. And I know we're going to have Shilpi back because we've only talked about the spiritual. We want to talk about what she really does now in the world, and the interesting, amazing works that she does.
Yeah.
So we will be having her back soon. And thank you for joining us.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shilpi.
Yeah,
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Stephanie. We shall continue.
of
Yes, for sure.
course. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye. So, should we tell people how they can get creative and change up their Mondays?
Yes.
So So I created this really cool creative network called Natural Beauties Arts and Ideas Creative Network. And we do these creative sanctuary sessions every second and fourth Monday of the month. And they're super fun. What do you think about them? Because I know you've been to a few.
Oh, I've been to a few, and I have to tell you, when you told me about this the first time, I was like, oh, Mondays. I don't like to schedule anything on Mondays because I just like to flow into my week and not have anything on the calendar. And then I was like, you know what? It's Stephanie. I'm gonna pop in and just see what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I did, because joke's on me. I was able to pick up an old sketch pad that I've had for a year, not touched, and some watercolors. And I was able to just sit there and play. And it was fun. And it released a lot of the nervousness and anxiety that I was experiencing over, okay, it's a new week and I got to do this and I got to da 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 da.
Yeah.
And I was just able to release all that. And I had fun and I created. So when you said sanctuary, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is just engaging that right side of your brain, that creative side, where we can, in doing so, it brings joy and happiness and innovation, and ultimately that energy flows over into our business, into our personal lives, and it just makes us happier and more efficient, and like our problem solving skills actually get better, like all sorts of things improve. It's so cool.
Totally.
So I'd love to have you join us on a creative session, second and fourth Mondays of the month, noontime Eastern Standard Time. And the website that you can go to check it out is my link tree. So linktr.ee/natural_beauties. And that will get you there. You can check it out. You can register and learn more about it. Hope to see you there.
Yay.